of a rickety barn. Well, that's not entirely true. I tended to do these things without the buzz. Except kissing Mark Geller. That was all alcohol. "You okay?" Brant called from the rooftop. I gave him a thumbs up and went to check on Gilman. He was surrounded by a gaggle of girls, which made me wonder if he wasn't faking it. At least a little. A scrawny guy like Gilman didn't warrant much in the way of female attention, so I'd bet all 10 toes he'd run his mouth tonight to attract some. "You are one crazy ass, Chica," he mumbled, climbing to his feet. I pointed to the pile of hay I'd landed in, several yards farther than where he'd crashed. "I'm crazy? At least I aimed for the hay." "Woo!" came Brant's distinctive cry. A moment later, he was running around the side of the barn, fist pumping. He stopped at my side and stuck his tongue out at Gilman, who smiled and flipped him off. He punched me in the arm. "That's my girl. A girl who needs to bail. 10 minutes of kissy face in the bushes and Mark Geller thinks we're soulmates. So don't need a stalker." Brant frowned. "But the party's just getting started. You don't want to miss the Jell-O shots." Jell-O shots? Those were my favorite. Maybe it was worth... No. I'm willing to risk it. "Fine. Then I'll walk with you." "No way," I told him. "You're waiting for her hotness to show, remember?" He'd been trying to hook up with Cara Finley for 2 weeks now. She'd finally agreed to meet him at the party tonight, and I wasn't ruining his chances by having him bail to play guard dog. He glanced over his shoulder. In the field under the moonlight, people were beginning to dance. "You sure you're okay to go alone?" "Of course." I gestured to my feet. No license needed to drive these babies. He was hesitant, but in the end, Cara won out. We said goodbye, and I started into the dark. Home was only a few minutes away, through the field, across a narrow stream, and over a small hill. I knew these woods so well I could find home with my eyes closed. In fact, I practically had on more than one occasion. Pulling my cell from my back pocket, I groaned. 1 a.m. If luck was with me, I'd have enough time to stumble home and tuck myself in before Dad got there. I hadn't meant to stay so late this time, or drink so much. I'd only agreed to go as moral support for Brant, but when Gilman started running his mouth, well, I had no choice but to stay and put up so he'd shut up. I had a rep to worry about after all. By the time I hit the halfway point between the field and the house, a shallow, muddy stream I used to play in as a child, I had to stop for a minute. Thumping beats and distant laughter echoed from the party, and for a moment I regretted not taking Brant up on his offer to walk home with me. Apparently, that last beer had been a mistake. I stumbled to the water's edge and forced the humid air in and out of my lungs. Locking my jaw and holding my breath, I mentally repeated, "I will not throw up." After a few minutes, the nausea passed. Thank God. No way did I want to walk home smelling like puke. I shuffled back from the water, ready to make my way home, when I heard a commotion and froze. Crap. The music had been too loud, and someone must have called the cops. Perfect. Another middle-of-the-night call from the local PD wasn't something Dad would be happy about. On second thought, bring on the cops. The look on his face would be so worth the aggravation. I held my breath and listened. Not sounds coming from the party. Men yelling. Heavy footsteps stomping and thrashing through the brush. The yelling came again. This time closer. I crammed the cell back into my pocket, about to begin what was sure to be a messy climb up the embankment, when movement in the brush behind me caught my attention. I whirled in time to see someone stumble down the hill and land a few feet from the stream. Jesus! I jumped back and tripped over an exposed root, landing on my butt in the mud. The guy didn't move as I fumbled upright and took several wobbly steps forward. He had landed at an odd angle,